So welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 4. This is the first episode we have recorded since going live. So this is going to feature all of the alterations that certain individuals have told us might be a good idea, but some of them have considerable more experience than us, so we're going to take...
And more importantly and more interestingly, this is the first time that I've been sober for a podcast.
Oh gosh.
Oh my goodness.
My sponsor is so proud of me.
See, when you said sponsor, I was just going to say how much is Smirnoff paying you, but I figured you meant AA sponsor.
Yeah.
I'm slow.
To be fair, yeah, Echo Falls have pulled out of funding me since I've become sober all of 20 minutes ago.
Since George Best shaking his head at you. So anyway, as usual, moving through our standard format, we should do a little bit of a discussion about what we've been talking about and what we've been watching and playing this week. Move on into a bit of news from the world of film, and then dissect a couple of trailers, which we've all seen. 2/3 of us have seen, and the other one just has strong opinions about everything, to be honest, so, it balances. And then we're going to round off this first section with, as usual, the quiz, before moving into our in-depth discussion topic this week, which is, Alex?
We've forgotten.
The topic this week is first gaming experiences.
That's the one. So then, let's crack on, get stuck into episode 4 with, the vigour of a newborn seal. Alex, Arf, what have you been watching, playing, doing, touching, molesting this week?
Game-wise, I've been splitting my time pretty evenly between a game called Heroes 3 and Mass Effect 2.
Heroes 3? Heroes of Might and Magic 3?
Yes, Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Heroes 3 is the best one of the series by far, and I'm sure it'll be better than number 6, though I haven't played it. Such a good game, so good. It's frighteningly addictive, though. It's one of those games that gets repetitive reasonably quickly, but you can't stop playing, and you're so focused on your goals. Would you call it a real-time strategy? It is a real-time strategy.
It's turn-based strategy.
Yes, but there's also a campaign map. There's actually a lot of similarities between Heroes 3 and Rome Total War.
Yeah, actually, I can see that.
Yeah, like the progression of your heroes or generals, the building up of your towns, the different factions. The campaign map and the battle map is kind of the main one. Is that relatively unique to the Total War series, or does that happen a lot in...
There are quite a few games, RTS games, knocking around, things like Crusader Kingdoms and Victoria, that tend to... I'm not sure if Stronghold has a large-scale map or not, but games that like to have a campaign map of turn-based and then a sort of a smaller, more zoomed in, as it were, focused gameplay in a different aspect. It's not unique, but it is certainly done the best in the Total War series.
Yeah, definitely.
In my experience, anyway.
Despite the fact that I like a wide variety of games, I'm not exactly a huge fan of RTS games, so I shall divert to you when knowledge is required on that.
I am the Overlord.
More and more Overlords.
God, the look of the Overlord's face. It's like somebody just fucking windsocked an elephant. It's horrible.
Let's not talk about the Zerg. They're too disgusting. The first time I saw them, I was like, why is there a building-sized organ, and why is it pulsating so violently? I want to throw up, and it's like 1980s graphics. So, anyway, I would definitely recommend.
Ladies and gentlemen, just for the record, Alex has never once beaten me at StarCraft. Carry on.
It's because you Zergling rush me. That's not a tactic. That's
Sorry. I Zergling rush and I Ultralisk rush you, and Mutalisk. To be honest, you get it from all sides. I
would have beaten you when I was playing that Terran game if I hadn't built the wrong unit type.
Yeah, let's spam tanks. That'll work against flyers.
Well, I forgot about the flyers. Anyway, yeah, I would recommend Heroes 3. It's a very good game. It's an absolutely beautiful game. I'm pretty sure that almost everything in it is hand-drawn. And
yeah,
combat,
it does look like it, actually, thinking back.
Yeah, I swear to God, it's gorgeous. Like, even now, it's slightly stylized, so it still holds up. It's got all the mythical creatures you could ask for.
And then some.
It's got such variety. It's amazing.
I remember playing as, I can't remember which faction it is, the undead faction of some description, because I know the factions are based on what castle they have, or what fortress, citadels and things like that. But there is a turn everything to skeleton button.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love the Necromancer faction. Basically, every time you kill an enemy army, you raise some of the enemy's dead which you have killed and turn them into skeletons and add them to your own troops. So you just get more and more the more you fight.
No, isn't there a building in your settlement that you can use to just drag all troops in and turn them into skeletons?
Yeah, there is.
So you can make full stacks of skeletons just to rush. Yeah. And well, I say rush, they move piss poor slowly and are awfully weak, but swarm.
Yeah, if you have thousands of them, then they can decimate. So yeah, get that game, it's brilliant. Film-wise, I watched all of the Monty Python films. Yeah,
That's some achievement.
Actually, there are only 4, right?
Which one? Well, Holy Grail, Now for Something Completely Different, Life of Brian.
Flying Circus. I didn't watch Flying Circus.
I'm sure. I think
Flying Circus is the TV series.
Yeah, but didn't they do it a film for it as well? I don't know. My Python knowledge is only limited to.
Okay, let me completely rephrase that then. I watched 4 Monty Python. This basically all spawned from me randomly finding that interview on YouTube of John Cleese and Michael Palin on some 80s chat show where...
Meaning of Life, that was the other one.
Yes, the Meaning of Life. Where a bishop, this jumped up bastard, and they had this 2 guys to come on to talk to John Cleese and Michael Palin about the life of Brian and how it was an assault on Christianity. And basically this guy and this bishop just made absolute fools of themselves. John Cleese and Michael Palin had a very, very good argument for why it wasn't making fun of Christianity in any way. You actually see Jesus Christ in the film. He has a very small part. He's standing on top of this hill, and he's
the beginning. He's like, what's he saying? Blessed are the meek. Oh, that's lovely. They get an hell of a time.
But yeah, like Jesus in the film is treated with the utmost respect. Brian is never supposed to be Jesus.
Yeah,
and
isn't he on the cross on Calvary as well behind Brian? Or
I was never sure whether that was supposed to be Jesus. Basically, John Cleese and Michael Palin were saying that you don't have to listen to the things that are preached at you. You just need to decide for yourself. It doesn't matter what you believe. And these 2 guys, the bishop and the other guy, giving any evidence for their criticisms, they basically just were spouting about how they should be ashamed of themselves and then calling their film, insulting their film. And it was quite awkward because it very quickly the crowd sort of left the side of Chip and this other guy, and they sort of struggled under the peer pressure, and it was hard for me to watch cringe stuff like that. But it's a very good interview because they're just really intelligent guys, and
definitely.
I wasn't really sure what I was expecting because I haven't seen them in a long time, but there was this brilliant 30 minutes in The Meaning of Life where John Cleese is doing sex ed class, but for real. He's like being viciously gratuitous.
Yeah, he pulls down a 4-poster bed, doesn't he, in the front of the classroom?
Like the blackboard turns into a 4-poster and his wife comes in. And all the kids are like behaving like normal, like none of them are paying attention, and they're playing jokes, and that was really good. And then it cuts to the rugby match with the Masters, and it's like a bunch of like 8 to 10-year-old kids playing full-grown men in rugby, in really rugby, and they're just being full-on tackled and like beaten to shit, and they've got like a false dummy in the middle of a pylon.
I would say, Al, if you enjoyed that, there was a BBC4 drama in October last year called Holy Flying Circus,
right?
Which is a semi tongue-in-cheek look at when Life of Brian was released from the perspective of Monty Python crew, and sort of them trying to get it optioned for the American audience and going through the battle of what they should and shouldn't censor and things like that. And probably the interview you watched on YouTube covers the same time period as Holy Flying Circus. Genuinely very funny.
Anyway, should we really talk about Mass Effect now? That's a big topic.
We'll be brief then. I'm going to say about 5 words on it.
It's a brilliant game. I have to start with that. Mass Effect 1, I loved Mass Effect 1, but like the combat was really clunky and like genuinely quite bad at times. But the RPG elements, the storyline, the conversation options in even the first one were brilliant. It was like a breath of fresh air in a story-driven game that I haven't felt in like I think a number of years actually. And Mass Effect 2, I think, pretty much outstrips the first in almost every regard.
I'm having a hernia.
Why are you having a hernia?
Because I want to start... Right, we're doing a bonus episode on Mass Effect at some point. I'm sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you again. You were saying Mass Effect...
No.
You were blaspheming by saying Mass Effect 2 outstrips Mass Effect 1.
I think that's a valid opinion. What's wrong with that?
I'm taking the piss by saying you're blaspheming. I was just reminding you where you were in a humorous way.
We are all in churches.
There's no problem with you interrupting. I just have a terrible memory, and I struggle. But yeah, I think the combat system, at the very least, is just miles better. It's actually fluid. In this, they've condensed all the squad commands into 2 keys. I don't know. It somehow felt much more satisfying.
Carrying straight on from Alex talking about Mass Effect 2, I'm just going to talk a few seconds about Mass Effect 3, and there will be absolutely no spoilers whatsoever in the next 2 or 3 minutes of me talking. I've done an in-depth review, which you can find on my review website, which is on... If you go on our podcast website, it's in links on the bottom right-hand side.
And if you're listening to this on gramophone, then you're really going to have to update.
Pretty much. I was just going to say, if you haven't played this series and you consider yourself a gamer, what the fuck is wrong with you? Go and buy Mass Effect 1 and 2, and then get yourself on a Mass Effect 3. But I would strongly suggest playing both first games before you play the third one. I'm going to talk about 2 films this week that I've seen. I'm going to talk about first one I watched a couple of days ago on the recommendation of one Benjamin David Curtin Jenkins. He suggested this film to me. It's called The Man from Earth. And it won a smattering of awards in 2007, 2008, sort of across all the international film festivals like Cannes and Sundance and things like that. And he said to me, go and watch this film. Do not look up anything about it. Not on Wikipedia, not on IMDb or anything like that. Don't ask anyone about it. Just watch the film straight off. You know, it's brilliant. It's really, really good. So I thought, fair enough. He's been right in the past about certain things, though I have still yet to watch Casino, which he keeps telling me to watch. And so I sat down one evening and started watching it. An hour and a half later, I was quite angry because this is an excellent concept for a film that has been viciously butchered by poor editing, useless acting, absolutely shocking filming. Just the angle of the camera is just, oh my gosh. I mean, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's quote unquote stylized, which is an excuse for pretentious or half of you won't understand it. But I think it's genuinely worth reading the Wikipedia page for and then musing over whether or not you think this could be a really well done film. Now here comes a spoiler warning, because I'm going to tell you what the film is about. So if you don't want to hear what this film's about, if you're thinking you're going to watch it in the future, I can't really say I'd recommend it, but I'm going to tell you. So here comes a spoiler warning. A man sits down with his 5 or 6 best friends he's professor at a university. They're all professors, and he says to them, I have been alive for 140,000 years. I am a Cro-Magnon man. I was Jesus. I was also trained with one of the Buddhas, and I met Van Gogh. I met John Cabot, and I'm going to basically try and tell you that everything you believe in is bollocks. And then the religious one cries, so he says, everything's fine, I was only joking. And that's the film. It's got Dr. Phlox from Enterprise in it, though. But that is the entire film, and it's an incredibly interesting concept. But it was just so badly executed. It really made me sad, because I thought it could have been so much better. So yeah, that's Man from Earth. Any thoughts? I know Charlotte said that when she read on the a certain bit on the Wikipedia page, she physically couldn't watch it just because it made her laugh so much.
I didn't want to, because Ben had recommended it to you, so I didn't want to be mean and be like, no, I'm going to watch this and take the piss. But I would have watched it and took the piss, so I think it works out well for all of us that I just read the Wikipedia page, read he was once a Sumerian for 2,000 years and thought, no, I'm not having any of that.
Said so matter-of-factly. Yeah, Alex, any thoughts on that? Nope, okay. Moving on, yesterday I packed myself up to the cinema, paid a king's ransom, and saw John Carter in 3D. Oh God, this is like mediocre. There is no other way to describe this film. It is 5 out of 10 across the board. Bland characters, bland action, bland plot, bland blah 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 bland, and pretty bad use of 3D. And it's got some people in it what you think you recognise, but they aren't people. And Willem Dafoe has 4 arms. It was genuinely bland, and the story was just all over the place. There were about 30 different elements rammed into this one film. You didn't really know what was going on. It's apparently a weakly watered-down version of A Princess of Mars, which is the Edgar Burroughs book that it's based on. And it's eons old, this book. It's like the progenitor of all science fiction, not science fiction, progenitor of all comic book film and sort of some action film, things like that. Prime example, the main character, John Carter, ends up on a different planet, Mars, and can suddenly, because of MacGuffin, being Mars's low gravity, can jump tall buildings in a single bound. And, does that sound familiar? It's Spider-Man, obviously. But yeah, no, so it's like, people won't understand this. I really think it's one of those films that people will think is god awful because it's ripped off every film in the past 20 years, 30 years, 40 years even, when really the sort of Ouroboros of the situation means that it's ripping off films that have ripped itself off. If I've not made everybody listening to this cross-eyed by saying that. What I mean is, the book itself was then influence for hundreds of science fiction, comic book writers, etc., including things like Dune and Star Wars and stuff like that. Very clearly have not stolen, but borrowed in the nicest way. Borrowed inspiration from Burroughs' series of books. I think there are 9 of them. And then this new John Carter film has borrowed from the films based on the books, which were sort of borrowing from John Carter itself. So it's just a big cycle. But, this is directed by the guy whose name I can never remember, but he did Finding Nemo. He's a Pixar director, and this is his first live-action film. That instantly made me a little bit wary. But then again, we've seen Brad Bird, I think his name is, the director of The Iron Giant, take on Mission Impossible 4 and do a spectacular job with that. So maybe oh my gosh, it's just bland. I can't say.
Basically, what you're saying is instead of watching John Carter from Mars, go and watch The Iron Giant because it's infinitely better.
I am saying that.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely saying that. I mean, there's only 2 things that really make this film worth watching, and that's there is a small animal in it that is like a dog but an alien. That's basically a cross between. Do you remember the 3-eyed toad from Lemony Snicket?
No.
No. Anyway, it's basically a cross between a giant toad and Taz, the Tasmanian devil, that runs at supersonic speeds. So,
interesting.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the other one was the lead actress, whose forgettable name is forgettable, but she was Wolverine's wife in Wolverine, the one who called him El Chupa Libre or something like that. It means a Wolverine. And then
Akolukia.
Whatever, I don't really care. Yeah, she was stunning in everything she was wearing. That was about it.
Dude, everything borrows from everything else. I heard a theory that there were only 7 individual stories.
There are only 3. There's man versus man versus Earth, or nature, and man versus himself. Thank you, Marie Jordan, for informing me about this and educating me on it. There are only 3 stories. Everything can be broken down to that.
Exactly. So it's not like John Carter's fault that or everything that came after John Carter's fault that it's something of a derivative of John.
I wasn't saying that. I just that's how art works. Somebody creates a small thing, somebody likes it, somebody emulates it, and then so on and so forth until you have a zeitgeist movement, and then suddenly, like these fucking vampires still knocking around, and suddenly it becomes commonplace, and people tend to write to be popular. I mean, why would you? Why would you go against popularity? So John Carter's series was popular. People wrote to emulate it or to add to the zeitgeist of it, of this sort of action hero science fiction-y genre.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's plagiarism. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's just interesting now that John Carter has been made after all of the other films that have ripped it off.
Yeah.
It's just an interesting chain of events, really, that I guarantee there'll be people wandering out the cinema going, oh, you ripped off Avatar. That was shit. And I'm just going to have to try and not hammer them in the face.
So in a way, no, it's not circular. That's a silly point. Nothing.
It's Ouroboros, which is like one of my favourite things from mythology, which is a snake devouring its own tail.
I thought it was pronounced Ouroboros.
Possibly, but you say Ozymandias and I say Ozymandias, so...
True. But yeah, if we didn't have plagiarism, then we wouldn't have Angry Birds. So...
A little bit bitter about that, are we?
Yes, Crash the Castle came first, even though it was shit.
Oh, God.
It was unfair that they didn't get any recognition.
Right, so that was what we've been doing this week, Alex and I. What about you, Charlotte? What have you been doing this week? / since we last recorded?
When was the last time we recorded?
Eons ago,
I think
it was January.
Well, first I evolved from a slug. That was pretty tiring. So after that, I kind of took a nap for a bit.
The music of Fatboy Slim.
What?
Yeah, that music video where
Christopher Walken flies, that's the only one I know.
Oh, that was an amazing video.
That's the only music video you know for anything, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only music video you need for anything. Serves all purposes. But no, Fatboy Slim did a music video charting the entire evolution of man from an amoeba to human, just sort of walking left or right.
And then they ripped it off for a Guinness advert.
Oh, gosh.
Plagiarism.
Yeah. You know the Guinness advert with the guy going surfing? It was like tick, follow, talk, follow, tick, and that voiceover rubbish.
Yes.
You know the guy is a famous actor now. I think it's someone like Sam Worthington. It's someone of that caliber.
Wow.
Interesting. Anyway, sorry, Charlotte.
That's okay. I just realised that all my photos were kept on my SIM card rather than on my handset, which means that I don't have to worry about what kind of dodgy photos were on there.
By dodgy
when I gave the
photos,
handset back.
by dodgy photos, what do you mean?
I don't know.
Pictures of
This-
indecently exposed ducks.
I indecently exposed you, Ross.
Lol.
Are you sure it's not just terrible?
It could be a duck. I don't know. It could very well be a duck.
You said you wouldn't tell.
You're a duck.
I am a whack. Anyway,
Top half exposed.
stop taking naked pictures of me.
Better than that. Better than that. Not that the half naked photos aren't lovely. It also means that the photos of me and my stepdad wearing fake moustaches are still on my phone.
Every woman looks good in the moustache. Look at Tom Selleck.
I looked like Jarvis Cocker, which is weird because I don't even think he can grow a moustache.
You looked like what Jarvis Cocker wants to look like.
Anyway,
Yeah.
what I've actually been up to, I've got many, many books of comic books. That made no sense. Can I say that again, but making more sense?
Yeah.
This is what happens when I'm sober, guys.
You're fine. You're fine. Just push through the hate of the real world.
So you've got all the things.
Yes, I've got 5 issues of the Marvel comic book collection now.
Ow.
That's 2 really good issues,
Which ones were that?
2 okay issues, and 1 issue that I'm a little bit about. I'll start with the really good ones. The really good ones would be Spider-Man Coming Home, which is amazing. It's like the TV series of Spider-Man, and you can hear him in your head saying all the pithy comebacks and making the bad puns,
The
and
best
it's
one
brilliant.
ever.
It is brilliant. And then the other good one is The Ultimate Superhuman, which is Iron Man, Thor, The Wasp, Hank Pym. Who am I forgetting? That's really Captain America. That's who I'm forgetting. That's really obvious. Captain Obvious. And that's kind of when they first got together. They have to fight the Hulk because Betty Ross is going on a date with Freddie Prinze Jr. and the Hulk hulks out, gets angry, and runs around town shouting about how horny he is and how Freddie Prinze Jr. needs to back the fuck off. It's really bizarre, but it's really good, and it's because I really like all those films that kind of tie into that whole story. And I don't know if they knew about it beforehand, but they make jokes about, oh, if this was a movie, who's going to play who? And they're talking about General Nick Fury, and he said, well, who's going to play you, Nick? And he's like, well, blatantly, it's going to be Samuel L. Jackson. There's no question about this. Bearing in mind that the Iron Man film wasn't until 2008, and this comic came out in 2002. They also make a joke about Robert Downey Jr. being really drunk.
Awesome.
So it's kind of like they could tell. The meh issues have been the Iron Man Extremis one, which was okay, but kind of there wasn't much of it. So it's like a book the same size as the rest, but there were very few text boxes and the art wasn't very good.
Yeah, I remember
It was
read
kind
it really quickly.
I know, it was kind of computer generated art as well, which I wasn't massively fond of. And the other one, which was Spider-Man Birth of Venom, which I was quite disappointed about because I thought it was going to be good, but the art is really sketchy for that. I think it's taken from a lot of different series, but with the same story arc. I think they were just trying to find a story arc, not necessarily from consecutive issues. And so the art goes up and down, and in every single one, it doesn't matter who the artist is, whenever they draw Aunt May, she looks like she's crawled out of the grave. She's scary. She's gaunt and haggard and pale. At one point, like, Peter's hearing what she would be saying to him in his head, and there's a kind of faded out picture of her, and it looks like she's about to swoop down on him and eat his soul. I don't like it.
I think she's supposed to be haggard by her spinsterhood.
But she wasn't a spinster because she was married.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, her widowhood? I don't know.
She had many happy years with Uncle Ben,
That's very
where
true.
Him and his rice.
he would just lie there and say wise things and then nap. That's how I imagine his entire life is, like that tiny scene we see of him in the first film.
Of just
Yeah.
dying in the middle of the road, saying stuff like "Don't eat yellow snow" and things like that.
The issue I thought was actually like bad, as in I probably won't read it again, but we'll keep it anyway, is X-Men Dark Phoenix.
Great.
Oh,
That's the one I have sat next to me, waiting to be read.
I know. It's a bit all over the place. I like, oh, we're going back in time, but we're not really going back in time. It's just Jean hallucinating things, and this is going to happen, and some other things are going to happen. I don't want to spoil it for you, but basically it's shit. And Charles Xavier in it, he's a dick. You can't imagine it. Try and imagine Patrick Stewart, Charles Xavier from the film, and try and imagine him being a tosspot. It's really quite hard.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that the Phoenix was a shit character in every incarnation.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense, but... Yeah. The art for that was meh, the story was meh, and then there's the fact that Charles Xavier at one point turns around to Scott and goes, you failed me, how could you, Cyclops, you've done nothing good. I can see
for the last time, Starscream.
Yeah, he's like, I need to take you in hand, I need to spank you, and then I shall get on with training all the people. Get the wits out, guys, this is getting real. It's just weird.
It's all kinds of wrong.
Why was the Venom story bad other than the artwork? Because, like, Venom's one of my favourite villains, like, of all, not just in comic books. I love Venom. Why was the story so bad?
Again, I think this was because they were picking bits from kind of different story art for it. So for Venom, there's a whole bit in between where there's clearly a lot of issues that have gone on before, and they just kind of skip over it. I will admit, it's not a badly written one. It's not as good as I thought it would be, because Coming Home, the other Spider-Man one, was so good, was so on point, and exactly how I imagined Spider-Man would be when I try not to think about Tobey Maguire. Because that was so good, I think that Venom just didn't live up to it. A lot of it was about Peter Parker just wearing the symbiote and kind of wandering around with it, and he's like, hey, it's got pockets, it's got crotch pockets, it makes absolutely no sense, but he'll just hold things near his crotch, and then the suit kind of opens up and puts a pocket in it. And I was like, when you were drawing this, what did you think exactly? Clearly nothing normal, but it kind of, a lot of it was about him just bouncing around wearing black, rather than what I wanted to see, which was Eddie Brock getting all up in his business and
really
a bit more evil. That was like a tiny bit at the end.
Well, see, I've always loved the bit where Spider-Man wears a suit, and he's but
but there was no kind of emotional struggle between, oh, this is the suit, and there's no kind of struggle with it. It was basically, hey, I'm wearing black. I'm exactly the same person, but I'm wearing black. And then, I'm feeling a little bit tired. Maybe the suit is doing some things to me. You barely see any of that. And then Reed Richards shoots it with some sort of stun gun.
That dick.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Hey, guess what? Related. The guy who's doing the director of Chronicle has been signed on to do the new Fantastic Four reboot.
Oh, good. So yeah, I think we can all agree. Also, that the 1990s cartoon version of Spider-Man was the greatest narrative thing to happen to Spider-Man since Stan Lee created him.
Exactly.
This is true.
Though no one beats J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah,
I really am sort of struggling to see them replacing him very well. You got the Croc in the new Spider-Man film.
I'm looking forward to that. That was villains I was really disappointed they didn't do in the films as soon as possible.
But he looks like a green chemo patient, to be honest. His face looks really weird. He looks like one of the Cooper Troopers from the live-action Mario film. That freaks me out. The fact that and it's also because it's, and excuse me, all my Welsh listeners, Ricey fans, who is the actor who is playing Doc Connors, did all the motion capture stuff for it himself, which is quite interesting. And it was like you had to walk around with a tail on, stuff like that. But anyway, the point I was making is there's been hinting from sort of various sources that they introduce a few, quotation mark, more villains in the last part of the film, but there's been no speculation as to who they are. But I should expect there'd be more new villains. So I don't think there'll be a Green Goblin or a Dr. Octopus or a Venom or a Sandman.
Or maybe they'll start with Venom and rewrite that terrible wrong.
Maybe.
I will say, they had Venom in the sort of Tobey Maguire series of Spider-Man. They didn't have much of him, did they?
No, he was overshadowed by the rest of that awful film.
Yeah, quite a bit of Topher Grace, not very much actual Venom.
Yeah, I get more FaceTime like this. How was the artwork? Just quick, because the few panels that I saw when you handed me the book looked amazing.
It starts off good. I'm pretty sure I showed you Coming Home, which is the one that I showed you Coming Home. That was all amazing. The Birth of Venom, sketchy in places. Sometimes the lines weren't very clean. It was kind of scribbly. It didn't look comic book.
Oh, that's strange. I usually find that I'm quite forgiving with the art style because if it's at least consistent in however good or bad its quality, then I find myself getting absorbed and it feels right.
I wouldn't say it was consistent with this.
Oh, that sucks.
I'll lend it to you sometime.
Well, thank you. I suppose I'm not an artist, so I'm less likely to see things that would probably be glaringly obvious to you. In its badness, I mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not one to sit there and pick fault with every tiny little bit of it, because I do understand that it's comic books, and while the art is important, it's not as though I need Da Vinci on every single page. But
yeah,
if it gets in the way of the story, like if I'm looking at it going, well, that's just, if it interferes with my reading of it, then it annoys me, which is what I found a lot of the times. Every single time Aunt May was drawn on there, I genuinely had to stop and go, what a hideous woman. It was really off-putting.
I'm going to start imagining Aunt May as this like gargoyle, haunched over in this owl position in the corner of the kitchen, just like on top of the countertop when Peter walks in.
Right.
That's pretty much exactly it.
Here comes a complex segue.
Terrifying.
Here comes a complex segue. The 1990s Spider-Man animated TV series. Connected to the 1990s Gargoyles animated TV series. You talking about gargoyles, yeah? Did anyone see that?
No.
No?
I know it exists.
It was about gargoyles that came alive. Same sort of era. One of the main characters was voiced by none other than Michael Dorn. No? No?
Worf.
Yeah,
Worf.
he was Worf. He is the only character to have appeared in like sort of like 89% of all Star Trek. So that's in Star Trek. Leading on to our news section now, through my incredible segue, Topher Grace has recut the first three films from Star Wars, so episodes 1, 2, and 3, into one 85-minute film. He showed this film in LA about 2 weeks ago to a limited audience of a few close friends and a few members of the press, and he said it was a one-time thing, and it's only going to be shown once. It's never going to be sold or anything like that. He just made it because editing apparently is now his passion. This man's arc through life, I do not understand. I just don't get it. That 70s show Venom editor, I don't understand it. But anyway, so he made this 85-minute cut of the first three films, and the article I was reading, I'm pretty sure it was on the Slash Film website. It may well have been Empire though, I'm not sure. But anyway, the guy who went to see it said it was the best version of the three films that he had ever seen. And I just thought it was a fantastic thing that Topher Grace managed to recut all three films. That's nearly 7 hours into 85 minutes. But so that's in our news section this week. I'm just going to throw out things that I've picked up in the last couple of weeks.
That's irritating and tantalising because
you want to see it.
Clearly, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Second bit of gobsmacking news. Michael Bay has officially signed on to do TMNT.
I think Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of fits with a Michael Bay kind of film.
When was there ever a single massive car chase, Linkin Park, or explosion in the original animated series?
There's a lot of action in it, and the point I was trying to make is there's not a great deal of emotional connection you get from the four turtles.
Apart from all of them trying to have sex with April.
Yeah. We all knew there were undertones, even through the childish facade.
Interestingly enough, I know at least one of you knows this. The accident that created Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles also created another comic book character. Anybody know who it is? Here's why I feel superior, unless one of you knows.
Splinter? Or
no, Daredevil.
The same accident?
Yep, the same accident that blinded Ben Affleck in the Daredevil character arc. The barrels rolled off the back of the truck were the ones that contained the radioactive material. And if you look at the beginning scenes of the two, cells of the two comics, the origin comics of the two characters, they're pretty much identical, but from different perspectives.
Does that mean that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a Marvel comic originally?
I don't think it is a Marvel comic. I just think that the writers may well be friends or something like that. So Michael Bay doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I think it will be forgettable, but there'll be a lot of fanboy rage about it, as with anything from the 80s, 90s that gets made. Charlotte, what are your thoughts of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Were you a fan when you were younger?
Not particularly. It always annoyed me that I could never remember all four of them. But it was always a different one that I'd forget. So
yeah, I know the feeling.
They were a bit too interchangeable. But you think colour coordination would make it easy, but it doesn't.
They kept changing around all the villains as well. I mean, I read on the Wikipedia page earlier that Shredder, you remember Shredder?
Yeah.
So anyway, Shredder was changed from being black to white a few times. And then I think I was scanning wrong when I was reading the Wikipedia page, but I think it said he ends up in one of the later series as being just an amorphous fly. So anyway, moving on. 3 trailers we're going to look at this week. First of all, we're going to talk about Dark Shadows. Dark Shadows is a remake of a 1960s goth opera, which is a soap opera, but had gothic elements to it. in the sense that there were werewolves and vampires and ghosts and all this sort of stuff carrying on. In this remake, which is a Tim Burton, Johnny Depp, Helen Bonham Carter trio assault on cinema world again, Johnny Depp takes the lead role. He's apparently been quoted as saying he is a huge fan of the old TV show, and this is a massive sort of fan project for him. To me, it seemed like it had the Tim Burton-esque Night Before Christmas Corpse Bride style, but live action, obviously. It seemed reasonably entertaining. Great soundtrack in the trailer, but it's got that old sort of, oh no, I'm in a world where I don't understand anything that works because it's the 1970s setup that I find a bit tedious.
I didn't really have any sort of great opinions about it one way or the other. It just seems like a comedy with a mildly interesting premise from Tim Burton, who I think is a good director, but there's not a vast amount to interest me in the film.
No.
Other than Tim Burton's a good director, Johnny Depp's a good actor, and Helena Bonham Carter is also a good actress, I think.
I mean, who the hell has ever made a film from a soap? I honestly, Emmerdale film's never been made. I cannot name a film that has been made from a soap.
You can name a film that's been made from a sitcom. But...
Yeah, but not a soap. Not a 5 days a week soap. It smacks of bad territory to get into with the old fans, because if there are fans of the series who've absolutely loved it, they're going to pick holes in it. And I think it's a minefield. Sorry?
It seems like a comedy. Are you sure it's a soap?
Yeah, it's a soap. Yeah, I think forgettable for the trailer, but I'd like to keep track of it and see how it does, and maybe possibly watch it on DVD at some point.
Knowing that it had something spawning this film makes sense, because it just didn't really seem like it was for me at all.
All right, on to Men in Black 3. Yeah, Alex, what do you think?
Strangely, I had similar feelings to the last trailer. I'll probably enjoy watching it because I think the Men in Black franchise is an interesting premise, and it's sort of mildly entertaining, but nothing more than that at all.
Yeah, I was watching. I was thinking, well, Men in Black 1 was amazing, really, really good film. One of the films of my childhood that I really, really loved. Men in Black 2, I still really enjoyed, but looking back on it, it's sort of an oh god, why moment. Wasn't Johnny Knoxville in it as someone with two heads? Was that Johnny Knoxville? I think it was. Yeah, but anyway, that film was odd at best. The third one, I think they're going to have real trouble recapturing sort of the essence of the first film. They failed with the second. I think they're going to have even more trouble. I mean, it's been 10 years since the second film came out, so I really think this is either going to be a hit or a miss, like a big hit or just an abject flop. And considering they started filming with only 1/3 of a script written, the team behind it had only written 1/3 of a script before they jumped straight into filming. But from the trailer, it looked like it still had some of the elements of the old Men in Black. Josh Brolin, I think, I was a bit skeptical at first before I'd seen the trailer about him playing a younger Kay, but he does nail it. He really is channeling Tommy Lee Jones, and I think that's going to be interesting just to see. I am slightly concerned that Will Smith is going to have to carry a lot of the film on his own, and I know he was he was the protagonist for the first two, but I think Tommy Lee Jones was invested enough from the beginning to make it more like a buddy cop film as opposed to just charting Jay's life entering the Men in Black institutions like that. So, it'll be interesting to see. Time travel, though. Time travel is always a sticky wicket to try and deal with, because there'll be, do you have Jay going back in time and then a Jay staying in the future to live all the way through, or do you have two Jays in one time zone? And it can just get all confusing, and I'm sure there will be people who will start complaining about the chronology of stuff and all this sort of rubbish.
My problem with Men in Black is that it's a much, much better concept than it is a funny film. I mean,
yes.
it was clearly supposed to be an action comedy, and it wasn't bad, but like
comic book first.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that I would read the comic book intently, but the films, I don't know, comedies have never really grabbed me, and if I find I'm watching a film sort of just devoted to comedy, it's not usually that funny for some reason. That's just the sort of...
Yeah, so you prefer like a comedy drama or a comedy action film, something that's got funny elements to it, but isn't a straight Adam Sandler film.
No, not necessarily. I just that sort of style of comedy that seems to run with people trying to write comedy around a film style situation doesn't ever seem to be funny.
Just trail off.
The concept, I think, is brilliant. It's one of the concepts where you have pretty much infinite possibilities because there's so much creativeness available with the aliens. You can make as many as you want, and I don't know. I think that kind of a concept is wasted on a film. because you can only ever have one story, a 2-hour story, granted, but it's still just one in this huge world.
I think it would get very boring though if it was a TV show.
It was a TV show as well.
Really?
There was an animated series.
Oh yeah, no, there was the animated stuff. But I mean, Stargate Infinity doesn't count either. That was an animated TV show. The Men in Black style of comedy would get very boring very quickly, I find. But the actual plot would be interesting.
Yeah, but that's
I'm sort of half agreeing with you, Al.
If you're reading like a comic book or something, it doesn't have to be about the comedy. It can be about like the intrigue and the creativeness that you can get from that world, which I think is sort of fairly boundless.
And aliens named Balchinians and so on. Should we move on to 21 Jump Street?
Yes, let's.
Let's. Charlotte's seen this trailer. What's she want to say about it?
21 Jump Street is basically never been kissed, but gangs of ladies. And instead of a journalist going undercover to make out with a teacher, I don't really know what happened in that storyline. There are police going undercover to slide across cars. It wasn't very clear from the trailer what they're actually aiming to do in this, but apparently it's look awesome.
May I suggest never been kissed crossed with Superbad?
And if Channing Tatum does any of his street dance bollocks, I'm just going to leave the cinema.
How often does Channing Tatum street dance his bollocks?
That's where he started. Step Up the Streets or something like that.
Was that him?
Yeah, he was the main guy in the Step Up films.
Guess who started in 21 Jump Street?
No, don't say anything because that's in the quiz later.
Okay, no one did, no one at all.
Other things I noticed from the trailer is it seems to be a mixture of like slapsticky comedy, sort of like buddy cop growth story, and then a little bit of American high school tripe, really. Also, Ice Cube shouts a lot about drugs. So yeah, I suppose we should just say what the story is about. It's Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum are high school. They were high school like nemesis at school. Jonah Hill was the geeky kid, Channing Tatum was the jock, and then they both join the police force, and then they both go undercover together, and then they all learn from each other, and stuff goes wrong, and then they get better friends and stuff in order to bust drugs. Anyone else got anything to say about 21 Jump Street?
Not really. They seem to have managed to crowbar the comedy film into the American high school yet again, which is...
I don't think crowbar is really the term. I think it's more like sausage down a corridor these days.
It's just that they're undercover. I don't want to get into it. It doesn't look good to me. It doesn't look interesting. And
keep it at arm's length.
Yeah, pretty much. And the 80s TV show is for the generation before me, so I didn't hold any interest in that regard either.
So then, looking back, Dark Shadows. Would you go and see it, Alex?
Probably not, actually. No.
Charlotte?
Bear in mind, I forgot between the time we talked about it and the time now what it was about. Probably not. No.
So yeah, no. I reckon I give it like a 4 out of 10. Men in Black 3. Either of you want to see it?
Is Will Smith doing the theme tune?
Yeah, probably. I would assume so. If not, his son/daughter will do it.
If he's doing the theme tune, I will go for either the start or the end, depending on which bit it comes in.
Fair enough. Just, have a nap during the middle of the film.
Yeah.
I think I would probably go and see this in the cinema and give it about a 6 out of 10 just at the moment on this sort of... And finally, we just talked about it, 21 Jump Street. Gonna see it, Alex?
No.
Charlotte?
I might give it a go.
I think that is probably the mentality I take as well. I might give it a go.
Yeah, but I sometimes get surprised by things like that because Superbad I thought I'd hate, and I thought that was hilarious. I didn't expect that I would, but I did. Then again, sometimes I'm told that things are going to be really funny and they're not, like Bridesmaids, hated it. So
Yeah,
I'd give it a go.
Pineapple Express falls into my category for that. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'd give it a go because I don't know whether the trailer's promising or the best of a bad lot, so...
The comedy with me, my experience has been like invariably disappointing. So I'm just sort of bitter about the whole genre now, unfortunately.
Yeah, fair enough.
Are we talking about films or just life in general?
Both, God damn it.
Alex is a tired husk of a human. Yeah, 21 Jump Street. As I say, I'll tow my wagon behind what Charlotte just said. Give it a go, possibly. Roughly a 5 or a 6 out of 10 at a prediction. So yeah, that was trailers. Now let's jump on because for the first time we have feedback and we have people who like us and we're going to talk about them. So our official Facebook page at current, if you take away Alex and myself, has 15 genuine people who genuinely like us. They are going to get an official shout out for episode 4. They are Captain Lord Andrew Proctor, the GOAT himself. Becky Farr. Megan Fox, she's from America. Ollie Lee, he's possibly Malaysian. Ben Jenkins, you've heard of him before. Marie Jordan, she's in America. Chris Ogden. Jodie Cooper. Joe Chudley. Mike Young, he's in Australia. Joe Seddon, he's someone in Wikipedia. Ian Ellis, don't call him Ian. Tom Martin, he plays hockey. And Matt Wildman. And of course, you met her last week, the wonderful and illustrious Cat Styles. Those are our fans, and we love every single one of them, and we hope that they will continue to spread our wonderful word things. Thank you very much, every single one of you. So yeah, let's whack on with the last bit of this, of the first half of our episode. We're going to have a little quiz. This is round 2, so, everybody get out your colon and then separate word for all the titles. So like Requiem or First Blood, even though that's the first film.
I'd really like to point out that I don't think we should be telling people to get out their colon.
Okay, oversight. Everybody put your colons away, get out your punctuation. But, it's like Ghost Rider 2, Spirit of Vengeance. It's, everything has to have a colon and then something after it, like a subtitle.
Stop saying colon.
Colon. On with the quiz. The leaderboard, because this is important, because at some point, I don't know, there might be a prize, I don't know, something like that. The leaderboard, as it stands, Charlotte is in the lead, streaking away, not nakedly. 8 out of 10, the top of the leaderboard. I'm sitting plump in the middle, not figuratively. 6 out of 10. And Alex, wistfully, like the malnourished child at the bottom of the pile, with 2 out of 10. So, Alex, this is your turn, then this is your time to shine, to sing all those like song things like Journey and Boston and stuff like that get all your juices pumping and answer some questions and get some points.
And then take a midnight train going anywhere.
It becomes more than a feeling, really. Just more than a feeling. Question 1, Alex. You played Mass Effect and Mass Effect 2 recently. Let's test your knowledge of this. For 2 points, because each of these questions are worth 2 points, remember, name me 7 of the possible 13 recruitable characters.
Spanning both games.
Spanning game Mass Effect 2.
Okay. Thane Krios.
Yeah.
Garrus Vakarian. Mordin Solus.
Yeah.
Grunt. Jack.
Yep, that's 5.
Tali Vass Normandy.
Tali, yeah, okay, yeah, she is Vass Normandy at that point. That's 6. One more.
All right. Jacob.
Yeah, you can have Jacob. Nobody ever wants Jacob, but you can have Jacob. All right, so that's 2 points. The other ones you could have had were Legion.
Legion. Why didn't? Yeah, of course.
Miranda, Morinth, or Samara. And I know this will probably just instill a rage in you, but I thought I'd chuck it in just to troll you. But you get an extra point if you get it right. Can you name me the 2 characters from the DLC?
Liara Tassoni.
No.
Well, she is in the DLC.
Yeah, but recruitable characters.
She's a recruitable character.
See, this is the problem with Steam not selling any of the DLC. I miss content on some of my favourite series. Fine, you're not getting that point, though.
No, I don't know the other 2. I've seen the other 2. I've seen what they look like on Wikipedia, but I don't know their names.
Katsume and Zaid, for our listeners at home. I know Matt Wildman, another strong Mass Effect player, always talks about them to me because he was an Xbox player, now a PS3 player. On to second question. This one's a little bit more straightforward. I talked earlier about John Carter of Mars, and that is based on a series of books by a writer called Edgar Burroughs, and it was first published in what year? You get 2 points, 2 whole points if you're within 10 years. You get 1 whole point if you're within 30 years.
1950s?
Is that your 1950s? 5-0?
Yeah.
Okay, flat wrong. It was 1912. Right. Okay, on to question 3. We watched the trailer and talked about the trailer for the new Dark Shadows film earlier. My question to you is, Dark Shadows was a long-running TV soap. How many episodes do you reckon it ran for? You will get 1 point if you're within 250, and you'll get 2 points if you're within 100. That should give you a clue as to how many there are. I should tell you it ran for 5 seasons, 5 years.
150?
Bear in mind I said you get 1 point for being within 250 episodes of how many there are, and 2 points of being within 100 episodes. So if you said there were 35,000 episodes, and it was 36,000, you would be wrong. Do you see what I'm saying? 150 is violently low. That's what I'm hinting at.
Oh, okay, right. I don't see your point, but 1,000 then. 1,000, yes, that's a lot.
Yeah, 1,000. You get a point for that. It was 1,225. Absolute stupid number of episodes.
How could a soap be that popular?
I don't understand. It's because it was a soap, so there were 4 or 5 episodes a week. Or
I see, yeah.
maybe even 7 a week, so, you know.
I think more in terms of dramas and sitcoms and stuff, and those take a long time to...
Yeah, I mean, God knows how many episodes of Coronation Street there have been, but it's been going since like 1953. Constantly.
How many episodes of Friends are there?
10 series, 20-something episodes each. Probably, I think there's 212.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Okay, on to question 4. Earlier, we discussed your childhood love of a certain animated TV show, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I want you, for 1 point, to name all 4 of the turtles, and for 2 points, to tell me what colour their headbands were.
Oh, God. You guys have got to stop asking me questions where I get them wrong and then feel really disappointed in myself.
You're not going to like question 5.
The aim is not for us to get points or for you to lose points. The aim is for you to ultimately question your life.
And for Charlotte to win.
My pop culture knowledge, everything I've worked for. Okay, Raphael.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with red.
Yes.
Michelangelo, orange.
Yeah. Yes, that's 2 right.
Donatello, purple.
Yeah. Oh my God, if you don't get the last one, you don't get any points. Come on, dude.
I know his headband's blue.
I can't believe you get the colour but not the name. The fuck's wrong with you? Come on.
I don't know. I can't just think of like a generic Italian name and then hope it's...
It's not him.
Who have you already said?
Michelangelo, Donatello, Raffaello.
Oh, come on, the last one is the easiest one.
Great pep talk.
Well, I'm sorry, but it is. They're all named after great artists. Who's the best Italian artist you know?
I don't know.
Did quite a lot of big
I'm going to start docking you points, Mr. Hayes, because you're giving him clues.
You can't dock me points for this. I'm not giving him clues. I'm just saying he should know it.
Michelangelo.
Really?
You already said that.
Fuck. I don't know then. I don't know.
Oh dear, oh dear, Alex. You get no points for this. It was Leonardo.
Oh, Jesus.
Right, question 5, final question. We talked earlier about 21 Jump Street, and we decided various things about it. Charlotte nearly inadvertently gave away the answer to this question. But which star of one of the films in the trailer section, so one of the 2 other films, Men in Black or Dark Shadows, was actually the star in the original 21 Jump Street TV show, playing Officer Tom Hansen? And I can give you a clue if you want to take the clue.
Tommy Lee Jones.
By the fact that you like the clue after you guess Tommy Lee Jones, maybe you want to take the clue.
I didn't think you'd heard me. Fine, yeah.
He has had sexual, and I assume sexual, he looks sexual, and I meant to just say interrelations, but for some reason I went to sexual. That speaks a lot about me, to be honest. Sexual relations with Winona Ryder and Kate Moss. To give you a sort of age bracket.
I don't know.
It's Johnny Depp, dude.
How are Winona Ryder and Kate Moss even slightly in the same? You can't count that as an age bracket. That basically just means a male who's been alive for some years. Winona Ryder's getting on now.
Very specific type of person to want to have sex with Winona Ryder.
That's because Winona Ryder's 3,000 years old and inside she's just a dead husk.
She is Spock's mother. Come on. It's a hard life being Spock's mom.
It's a hard Spock life. No, we're not singing this episode. I've sung every other episode, we're crying out loud.
No, I'm Wikipediaing it now to see how old they both are, because I feel I'm actually completely wrong. Never mind, Kate Moss is a lot older than I think she is.
Yeah, people who I didn't realise were actually as old as they genuinely are. Matt Damon's coming up to 40.
Winona Ryder is 40, that's all she is.
She's also an android. But Alex, you scored. Do you want to guess how many you scored?
No, I wasn't counting.
You've improved since last week, or last time even. You got 3 out of 10 this time.
Hooray.
Go you. So yeah, that brings us...
Whilst I get off the edge of my seat.
Alex doesn't, have much excitement in his life. He lives for these quizzes, and this opportunity to flex his cultural muscle is proving to be the thing pushing him closer and closer to the noose. So I think we're doing a good job here, dear listeners, by encouraging Alex. So, yeah.
See, I don't think of Leonardo as an artist. I think of him as an inventor. He's a great mind, he's not necessarily an artist. I know he does create. Yeah.
He does happen to create. Oh, I don't know, just a few small paintings.
Yeah.
The names of which completely escape me.
I know, but that's not all he did. So it's. I hate you guys. Damn it all.
Alex?
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
We are talking about our first gaming experiences.
If I jump in and get us started then, just with a little bit of stuff. I started off gaming. The first experience of my own personal game, things that I touched, that I owned, that were mine, was on my 9th birthday. My parents bought me, I assume from some shitty second-hand shop, like Game, or sorry, the artist formerly known as Game. They're going into administration if you haven't been abridged of that fact yet. Interestingly enough, here comes a side rant. They go into administration and they have the audacity to call the closing down sale a summer spring clean on their website. Like 80% off all titles, buy everything really cheap. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, still £45. Just blow it out of your ass. Anyway, I was 9 and my parents bought me an NES, a Nintendo Entertainment System. That was the square one with the lid that had the square controllers. And so they were so angular. It was like, you will be enjoying this, but it will like dig into your palms as you grip the controller. I used to play. I had a few games on that. I had a double disc. I say disc, it was a cartridge, it looked like a piece of toast, which had Duck Hunt and Super Mario on it. I'm not sure if it was the original Super Mario, but I'm fairly certain it was.
Dude, I'm already jealous. I didn't start my gaming career with the NES or even the SNES. I started with a Sega. And
what's wrong?
The Sega was a brilliant piece of kit.
Which one?
What do you mean, which one?
Do you mean the original Sega, the Sega Mega Drive, Sega 2, the Sega Saturn, Sega Orion?
Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah, okay. Did you have Sonic?
Yes, I had Sonic.
Ugh. Sorry, I just threw up a little bit of bile there.
I think you're thinking of more recent Sonic games.
No, I'm thinking of the only Sonic game I've ever played, and that was just an incessant, just onslaught of ill-placed spikes and springs.
You're not a fan of platformers?
I'm a fan of platformers, hush your mouth, but I'm just not a fan of Sonic. Basically, he wears shoes but no other clothing. What's wrong with him? He's
a hedgehog. He's like Donald Duck. He doesn't need to wear clothing, he just wants to.
Yeah,
and to be fair, I'm assuming that his feet are the bits that, that they suffer the most. He runs very fast.
He turns into a ball and moves really fast, though, so I just assume he has a low centre of gravity. And also, Donald Duck wears a shirt.
Did I say Daffy or Donald?
You did. You said Daffy. It's not important. Anyway, so there was Super Mario, the one that ended with a flag at the end of every level. So that was, the oldest of the old, which I never managed to finish. And Duck Hunt, which was brilliant. I still didn't understand how that light gun worked. I still don't understand, to be honest, because as far as I can see, there was no receiver in the TV screen. It's not like a touchscreen thing. I got very confused, but yeah. And I also had, it's a cracking game called Exciter Bike, which was a side-scrolling 2.5D motocross game, but just like a very simple racing game with various obstacles and stuff like that. But you could create your own track on it and have like all these huge jumps and little mud pits and stuff to dodge over. But really basic, as you'd expect on the NES. But the crowning jewel of my gaming experience with the NES has got to be the DuckTales franchise game I had. Literally brilliant. Playing as Scrooge McDuck with a cane that doubles as a pogo stick, effectively playing some sort of cross between Castlevania and Mario, was just beyond funny. Like, he could bounce on his pogo stick cane across spikes, like the ubiquitous spikes that were in all games, and just looking at it, even my 9-year-old brain just kind of thought, the physics of this don't make sense. Not, of course, questioning the fact that a duck became a millionaire, but,
Yes, that's a comic book level of suspension of disbelief.
Pretty much. But at the same time, and this is what kind of skewed me when I was younger, on the same birthday, because they came as a package, my parents bought me a SNES as well. So I had the NES with those games. They also had the SNES with another Mario game. I forget which one, but there was a world, like a world map thing. I think it was Mario 3, because you had the raccoon tail.
Yeah, that was 3.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just more standard Mario. None of it's bad, but it's just all the same. And then I had this really, really odd game that was like a JRPG. I know this sounds a bit counterintuitive to say it about Zelda, but it was like a JRPG version of Zelda. And it was just a really odd rip-off, and it was sort of 2.5D, really badly scripted. At certain points, you could transform from the little boy you were running around with a flute as a weapon, for some reason, into a giant soldier or a pool of water. And it was fucked up, really fucked up. But I would play hours and hours trying to figure out where the fuck I was supposed to play the certain melodies and stuff like that. Because you start playing the flute and it just say, yep, nothing happened. And it's like, well, I got so frustrated with that game.
Wow.
As I said, like a JRPG style of a Zelda game, even though Zelda, being Nintendo, being Japanese, has a more of a Western-y feel to it, I think, than some games. This one felt like more towards, looking back on it, more towards the JRPG end of the scale. So, more androgynous children with giant swords than elves. That's the scale, elves to giant children. So I had those on my ninth. And around about the same time, I remember one of my friends at school had a Game Boy, the ones, that took batteries. And its screen was just a collection of grey and green. And there wasn't really much going on it. But I have a specific memory of being at school, in a school classroom, and he let me play on it for about 3 minutes. In those 3 minutes, I nearly started a fight and shouted at my teacher by mistake. Now I was like goody little two shoes at this age because I started playing it. Like it was a Toy Story franchise game, and you're playing as Woody, and you have jump as the A button, and then you could use your drawstring on your back as like a whip weapon, and you had to jump and swing from all these hooks in a really long line. There must have been about 30 of them. And it's like, one of those standard things on platforms. You have to just work the rhythm and get the timing right. And I couldn't do it. And I got so frustrated. Someone else tried to take it off me and have a go. And I went mental. I hulked out on them and got very, very angry. Which was like, yep, right. From the rest of my life, I'm pretty certain I'm going to be doing this then. Just on various scales and through various mediums, either in person or through the internet.
Wow, that's quite a way for life to show you the importance of something.
And yeah, I shouted at my teacher because I didn't realise it was her, and she came in and she was like, right, breaks over, back to lessons. I was like, no! Oh shit. So yeah, I was, my first gaming experience was me being an arsehole to various people around me.
Well, thank God you didn't get too far into the Halo franchise.
Well, I have played every Halo game apart from ODST from start to finish.
You don't take a great deal of enjoyment out of playing it on the internet and
never played online.
Yeah, telling everyone that you've had sex with their mothers and teabagging them and whatnot.
Exactly. So that was like where I started, but I mean, in living memory, I've always been, every single time my parents went shopping to like the mall and things like that, or any superstore, I'd be like, right, where is the game section? I will go and stand and just play the free demos constantly. I remember playing Mario 64 every single time I went to Toys R Us. I felt like I was there for days. And I even went to John Lewis, and in their IT department, they were running a few like graphic demonstrations of look how brilliant our graphics cards are, and things like that. And I got through them because there was sort of like it wasn't like a password, but you had to do a certain thing. I can't remember what it was because it was one of those old weird Macs where everything was built into the monitor. And once you got through the sort of the weird sort of graphical demonstration thing, you would get back to the desktop and you could launch this game, which was a really badly rendered 3D game about a dinosaur with a rocket launcher strapped to it. I was like, right, that's me. Those are 3 things that I love: bad 3D, dinosaurs, and rocket launchers. And I
remember that.
I played it so much they asked me to leave on multiple occasions.
Oh my god. Well done. Was there like a little submission where you had to collect the eggs?
Possibly. All I remember is
had a jetpack.
I don't know about jetpack, but your missiles were like triangles, and it was really poor render distance, and it was like forklift truck controls. If there could have been a jetpack, for all I know.
Yeah, that was always my mission as well. When finding like a computer or a game in a store, to try and find the sort of inbuilt game section. It was a weird experience for me when I was a lot younger, going to sort of shopping malls and those type of places, because the game store or whatever was always a point of interest for me, but I didn't really have a lot of interest in other stuff. Like I couldn't really see the point in spending a great deal of time in a shopping mall.
If you say mall one more time, I am going to kick you in the face.
We have a place called the Mall.
It's called the Mall.
Yeah, and then obviously I got older, and there are physical things that they need to buy to survive, like clothes and food. But when I was younger, I was just being led by the hand by my parents. I don't really see the point in all these other places that we have to go to, and it was a very sort of strange experience for me.
We're supposed to be talking about gaming, and we seem to be talking about you being left abandoned in some shop somewhere. Which happened.
My parents were there. Please don't call in about child abuse.
I don't think they can, retroactively come in and go, actually, we're taking you away now, call social services. I think you're a little bit old for it.
Yeah.
Scott Bakula just turns up. It's like, it's quantum leap, we're arresting you.
And I get placed in the care of this foster family, and they've got like 4 other foster children who are like 4, 5, and 6 and whatever, and there's 21 in a bunk bed with another kid.
Oh my god, and they're all different ethnicities as well. And they do that thing like they do in Family Guy, where it's like, quick, let's all lie down and be a rainbow.
Creepy.
That doesn't even make sense unless you're gonna.
It's the rainbow of modern gaming colours.
It doesn't. Unless you're going to adopt one of those cats from Avatar, you're never going to have a child that's going to be able to substitute for blue in the rainbow.
You can if you strangle one.
Oh.
Yeah, this is worse than Batman. Gaming experience.
We can keep this stuff under control, people.
So yeah, so those are sort of like my gaming experiences, and they sort of informed me of this world. I was an only child, and, you know, escapism was great in books and films and things like that, but even better when you could physically take part of the action. So I think that's why I got drawn to games. And the first few games that I found myself getting unhealthily obsessed with was Ocarina of Time, Pokemon Blue, Chaos Island, Settlers 2 Gold Edition, and Homeworld. They were the sort of... and that was sort of covering the years between maybe 9 and 12, 9 and 13, something like that. And after that, I knew I considered myself a gamer after that. Beforehand, it was just a case of, this is fun, parents go away, like, all day, I will still be here. But, yeah, I don't think there isn't a person out there who hasn't at least played and enjoyed some form of those games on that list.
Yeah, I didn't really foresee this, but depending on how much detail I go into my experiences, we're going to get into some really unhealthy and sad habits.
Airing some emotional laundry.
Yeah.
So what were the first sort of games that you played then, Al?
Well, there's two sort of main ones that come to mind. There's the earliest game that I remember playing for like an extended period of time, and there's the game I first felt like I was really drawn into, like I was in the fantasy world, and that suddenly became really important to me. That was kind of like
Don't say Myst.
God no. Although I do love Myst. It's
6% of Myst players commit suicide.
It is a terrifying game. It's bloody creepy. It's absolutely horrible. And yet there's nothing actually scary about. I think it has magical powers. I think it's a demon in game form. It's there to haunt you, and like slowly, the more you play it, the more likely you are to die.
It's a fucking slideshow.
But it's a good puzzle game.
Yeah,
which are rare.
I'm sure it is. But yeah.
Go play Myst, but have your wife or significant other nearby at the time, so you feel good about yourselves and don't have suicidal thoughts. Yeah. My earliest gaming memory was on the Sega Mega Drive, and it was a game called Alex Kidd. It was this very, very weird, batshit insane platformer where most of the fighting and battles takes place in a game of rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
Yeah, there were points in the game where you could only beat a boss by playing rock, paper, scissors with them. It was really enthralling, and I played it for hours, and both me and my brother played it, and it was a good game for the time, but it certainly wasn't enthralling. I mean, like, it didn't sort of draw me into the world. The colours were psychedelic, and it didn't really make any sense. The enemies were just, like, random animals that seemed to want to kill you, even docile ones, like turtles.
I'm seeing pteranodons. I'm actually seeing, like... I'm on Google image search at the moment, and there is an image of Alex Kidd, spelt with 2 Ds for our listeners, punching a pterosaur in the face.
Yeah, nothing in the game was ever that awesome, unfortunately. Yeah, the game, I was very young at this point. I started my gaming sort of life, as it were, well before 10. I don't know when I started, my memory's poor, but I know you said you started at like 9, was it?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that would be old for me.
Hipster.
No, it's just that my brother and I kind of started at the same time, because we both sort of discovering things at the same time, and I think he was probably about your age. But,
yeah, I can imagine Mike would have an influence on you like that. If they're in the house, you'd be aware of them and things like that. But
yeah, big time. I mean, games were a really, really great thing for me in my childhood. It was actually the complete opposite of the stereotype of the sweaty basement dweller who never sees the sun, because like I could talk to my friends about it, and we would develop new interests, and I spent loads of time with my brother, and it was great to play games with my brother because we're so similar. We were always like really in sync with our 2-player games, and we just played like we knew what the other was going to do, and got really good at them, and it just became like a social thing as well as sitting in front of the TV for hours. But yeah, it was really good. Yeah, Alex Kidd was a bastard of a game because of the rock paper scissors thing. If you would get to a boss and have to play rock paper scissors to beat them, and then you lost, there was no reason for you to lose. It wasn't like you weren't good enough at the game. We didn't understand something.
That's a kick in the balls. That's what that is.
Life has shat on you for no other reason than to shit on you. And it was kind of my first ever experience.
Did you rage quit?
No, I didn't rage quit because I kind of knew it could happen because it was a game of rock paper scissors, but sometimes when you get to a level you never got to before, and then you get to the boss and you shit yourself before you even start the quote unquote fight, because all your work might just be undone. And it was like my first experience of life being bad for no reason. I'm trying my hardest to think of it as like a teaching tool about and use it as a life experience, but it was just a really badly designed game.
I mean, Rochambeau, rock paper scissors, isn't really like a good game mechanic for a boss fight. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's no hit the glowing weak point 3 times, but it's not really up there with, the greats.
I can't really blame them. They didn't really have a lot to work with. I mean, it's not like they could program in some great big flashy fight sequence and then expect a 5-year-old to fight that out. It was like definitely a kid's game.
So yeah, what was the other game you were saying? Because that was the one you said you played a lot of. What was the game you first... I don't know.
I was going to ask you to guess.
It's either Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, or Metroid.
Actually, I never had a Metroid game until I had Metroid Prime on the GameCube. See, my first knowledge of Samus was on Super Smash Brothers, and I was like, "Who's this awesome person in a spacesuit with a gun for an arm?"
I remember playing. Very certain, I remember playing Metroid on a handheld at some point.
Wicked. Samus is definitely like a household name for Nintendo. She's up there with like Link and Mario.
Yeah, Samus Vicarian. But no, which one was it then?
Ocarina of Time.
Obviously.
Yeah, by far. It was just because I got so involved with it. I remember the first ever time I played it, and I just spent ages walking around Kokiri Forest and talking to everyone and looking in all the shops and doing backflips and crawling through holes and just exploring this sort of really green, beautiful, safe place and feeling like an awesome kid. And it was...
And then the fucking fairy ruined everything by telling you have to go and talk to the great Deku Deku tree.
Well, no, that was still awesome. I mean, that was scary because...
Get in my mouth!
Yeah, there's a weird, slightly Oedipal fucked upness to that, but
so much sexual connotation. Get in Javu Javu. Get in the Deku tree.
Yeah, and he inhales you. Oh, let's not go into the Freudian references, but yeah.
I think Ocarina of Time was a classic. As I say, it was one of the first games that encouraged me to love RPGs. It's not really an RPG, but it was like
you experience a story.
Yeah, I suppose. Okay. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to call it.
I mean, I suppose you could call it like a hack and slash game, but that doesn't really fit because that's just the mechanic. It's not the feel of the game.
Yeah.
The feel of the game is it tells a story. So
yeah. It's no Dynasty Warriors or crying out loud.
God,
how are they still making those?
I don't know, but to be fair, that game kind of blew my mind the first time I saw it. I was like, I am one man against a freaking army. A
freaking army that gets reskinned and slightly touched up between sequels.
And I seem to be able to take this army out by tripping them up with my giant broom handle. Anyway, Ocarina of Time is just a brilliantly crafted game because Zelda is a kid's game. I know a lot of hardcore adult fans would probably rage at me for saying this, but it is definitely a kid's game. It's certainly easy enough to be a kid's game. There's no gore, no swearing, no sex, barely any blood. It's very sort of tame, but it deals with some big issues. It's an epic journey. It's a very big game. You start off as this tiny kid in your very, very safe forest when all the people around you are kids just like you, or they're all your friends, and there's this great patriarch, the Deku Tree, that seems to be infinitely wise, and he watches over the whole place that you live in. You're entirely safe, and then he tells you, you get this tiny sword, this little wooden shield, and he tells you to go inside him and kill the curse that is rotting him from the inside, and suddenly the shit hits the hyperdrive, and you have a great deal of responsibility, and there are monsters trying to kill you. But there's this sort of great transition, even within the game, from childhood to adulthood, because you expect to start out in a safe place, is what you're used to, and then you do the first temple, you fight these horrible monsters, and then you're finally let out of Kokiri Forest because you're actually stuck inside that safe bubble.
Yeah, because that arsehole won't let you past.
Yeah, he lies to you, tells you a Kokiri and that you'll die if you leave the forest. But then Link, like the stupidly crazed, brave bastard that he is, decides to leave anyway. But yeah, you're sort of visually smacked by the vastness of your quest and the sort of effort you're going to have to put in to save the people or whatever your motivation is for doing the quest. Yeah, and it's just this great transition that I really felt involved in because of, I don't know, it's just a really, really brilliantly set up game.
It was unprecedented scope of it that I liked because it was the Skyrim of its day. You know, people were like, oh, Skyrim's so huge, it's amazing. Well, Ocarina of Time was that for me, that age.
Definitely.
Because I think it was the first non-linear game I ever played. So yeah, it's sort of my first games and Alex's first games, and should we poke the sleeping beast?
Charlotte, we a hell of a lot less nerdy and lame than the both of us put together.
Yes.
I had a very strange childhood. So while you guys were playing on the Sega, I had a really big box that the fridge came in and I was painting it to look like a sarcophagus, and that kept me entertained for 6 months of my life. I was about 8.
Get me wrong. I love me some good cardboard box.
There is photographical evidence of this.
I was about 8 at that point. So games weren't really a massive figure in my life. The only reason I ended up with the PlayStation is because my mum's then boyfriend wanted one, and she thought it'd be really hilarious to give him an empty box and me a PlayStation.
Good old.
But then she realised that she couldn't really give a 9-year-old a present and then say, actually, I was just joking. It's really for him. So she had to buy both of us one. So the first games I had were very much aimed towards prepubescent girls. So we had the Hercules one.
Excellent.
Oh, of course.
Hercules game of unimaginable figure.
You know,
It was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm assuming this is the one based on the Disney film.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry,
As opposed to based on the actual...
by on the poem, the shape of people in that film, fucking ridiculous figures.
But I remember we had that. We had Lemmings. Did you like that game? My dad really liked that game. I remember taking it to his once and waking up at 3 in the morning because I could hear noises and he was still playing it. I don't think that thing I don't think it ever finished. There was no kind of end to the game. You've done all the levels now because he was still playing it.
I think there was something like 100, and I could never get past about 12.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you completed it because I always found Lemmings really hard.
We got to about 60.
Blimey.
Wow, that's good. I can probably count the number of levels I completed on one hand.
There was that. What else was there? There was Crash Bandicoot, except for, again, that was one of the things that I do have a tendency with games. When they get to a certain level of difficulty, I throw down and just won't play them anymore. I'm like, no, I'll just go back to the beginning levels. So the first 4 levels could do with my eyes closed. Still can. Tried it again when I went home to go and was just playing it. But there's a level where you have to, rather than running away from the screen, you have to run towards the screen. And I can't do that. I've got no sense of direction at the best of times. And I'm like, but if I turn it here, where am I going? I'm going the wrong way.
It's like reversing your car.
Pretty much. I can't do that either.
Is that the one where you're being chased by boulders or a rhino or something like that?
Yeah,
there's one of them in every game, isn't there?
Yeah, I think one of my favourite games. The big one for us was Tekken because it's multiplayer and it's button mashy. You don't need skills, you just need really fast fingers. So a good few hours of kicking people in the face and finding that one move that you can't dodge around. Just doing the same thing over and over again. And I know you can't see me, and I don't think either of you have played Tekken, but for anyone that has, what I'm doing right now is the move that Nina has, where she kind of just shoves out with both hands, and you can't duck it. They're flying backwards. They do a backwards roll. By the time they've got back up again, you've legged it over to them and done it again. They just keep going backwards. It's brilliant.
See, I can't remember if it was Tekken or another game series. Whichever one has Jack in it, the guy with the metallic arms.
You mean Jax with an X?
Yeah.
That was Mortal Kombat.
Was it?
No,
Yeah.
That was Tekken. Jack with no X was Tekken.
He looked like Guile from Street Fighter, but he had big metallic arms.
Yeah, there was Jack Gunjack.
There we go.
Then Jax, then that's weird.
Because I remember playing that game on a PS1 at someone's house, and there's a demon with like demon horns as an unlockable character, and he has laser eyes.
Yep.
And it was just spam the laser eyes, square and triangle together, just spam the laser eyes. No one will beat me.
Yeah, weirdly enough, fighting games seems to be really good at bringing people together because it's good for amateurs and pros alike because the amateurs can button mash and the pros spend ages looking at the moves list, trying to work out the best and most complicated one, then it not working.
I usually try and figure out the special, inverted commas, like, Scorpion's chain attack or the Sub-Zero's freeze and stuff like that. And it's like, right, just do the thing because I know that they can do it, and then that'll be it. Like, trying to get Blanca to electrify himself. For fuck's sake. I swear to God, I can never do it.
Dude, you have to press one button as fast as you can.
Really?
Yes.
Shit. I spent ages trying to figure out what the combo that was for. Damn.
It's this spam type move, like Chun-Li's machine gun kick and the 100-hand slap. You just
fucking machine gun kick.
How involved do you think you were in these games? I mean, like, compared to the sort of intravenous relationship we had with our childhood games, how much did you care about them?
I think it was different. Pokemon was the one where I would be like, I want to go home because I've got to battle a gym leader and it's really difficult, so I'm going to have to go and walk around in the grass some more. So that was the one where I actually gave a toss and looked forward to playing it, whereas all the rest of them were it was more fun when other people were there. I enjoyed, sitting down and playing with a bunch of other people. It wasn't like I was like, oh my God, I really want to get home because I want to play Tekken. I just punched people at school, so...
I don't know why everyone seems to have had the same experience with Pokemon.
Because it's the same game?
Well, yeah, I suppose, but like...
But what I mean by that is there's only one way to play it. Like, you can't have a different experience with it because it's still a linear game. It's still a case of choose one of these wild animals to hit against the other wild animal 8 times, and then against 4 more people, and then you're done. Oh, and you can collect them all if you want to.
Yeah, I think Pokemon is a really good one to sort of first feel like you care about the game. Pokemon is a scary game. It's scarily well developed. It didn't happen by accident. There's a reason it's so insanely popular. It works for every kind of person. You're a hardcore gamer who wants to play through it by yourself in a dark room with your one level 95 Venusaur, and you can do that. But it can also be a social game as well, because there's a trading thing, and you can't get all of them without talking to other people, and there was always that fad in like the break time of school where everyone had Pokemon and everyone was talking about it, and it brought people together to uplift. It's
a game.
That was the argument we had when the new head teacher tried to ban Pokemon cards. It didn't wash really. We were like, yeah, but you speak to everyone. It's the great social equalizer. We're too young to drink. We need some form of communication. Pokemon cards work.
Yeah.
He still banned them, and we ended up making our own in maths lessons, which is why I can't do long division. What if we were children now? As in, if we started off our gaming experiences now, imagine we're 9, 10, what games would we be playing?
Call of Duty, calling everybody a, cocksucking fag over the internet.
Well, I would like to think that as blown as my mind was when I was 6 or whatever, my mind would be even more blown if I was growing up now, because games have gotten a lot better and so much more detailed and in-depth. But considering how commercial everything is, I reckon I'd be a lot closer to a gaming spoiled brat, and I'd want my sequels, all the time, constantly, every day, every week, a new game that is the same game as the last one, but with a new
different number.
Yeah, a new coat of paint.
Alex, we all know you'd have a Wii, because you do.
I wouldn't have a Wii if I grew up now. I bought a Wii out of...
Shame.
I bought a Wii out of a sense of duty and loyalty to Nintendo. God, was that a mistake. I swear to God, 10 games that I want on the entire goddamn catalogue. It's not worth it, people.
It is worth it if you can pick them up for £45, including the console and 2 controllers.
Yeah, true. It's cheap as chips, which is useful, especially if you only want the console to play yoga on the Wii Fit Balance Board.
Sorry.
Who does that? Who does that? Do you do that?
Yoga. How do you play yoga?
Well, there are yoga games. They teach you how to do yoga.
They're not games. They're interactive fucking exercise DVDs. Anyway, I reckon I would be, if I was 9 right now, I would have a 3DS, and I would have like all the Mario shit, and probably anything to do with Star Wars, and anything to do with Lord of the Rings. That Aragorn's Quest game we're playing on the PS3, Alex?
Yeah.
That would like be my hot shit. That would be my Skyrim.
Yeah, good choice. That was a kick-ass first level with the kids pretending to be Gandalf and Aragorn, and
it was really quite odd that suddenly it's like, you have a friend, infinite power boost.
Yeah, player 2 is like God amongst the enemies, and player 1 has a sword and a
plucky attitude.
Stick, and that's it.
Yeah, literally just a sword and a plucky attitude, whereas you've got the powers of the Astari.
Don't lie. If you were playing that game on your own, you'd plug in a second controller and sort of play the wizard with your feet just to have...
Just for heals. Yeah, no, I think that would most likely be it. But I think I would have missed a lot of some of the games that I really do enjoy. Like, I would have missed all of the good early Total War games. And I would have missed all of Mass Effect because I wouldn't be old enough to play it at this point. But thank God I would have missed the smattering of people I knew back in the day who were 12 and 13 playing Grand Theft Auto and thinking just because it was out of their age range, it made it the best game known to man. For fuck's sake, the game is gobshite awful. It handles like dick, basically.
Yeah.
And I have never seen a worse third-person shooter. It's just like a bag of spanners. All of the spanners are good at doing other things, but you put them in a bag and it doesn't make it sausages.
Yeah.
Quite like the idea of something handling like dick, like the games there going, yeah, just one hand, that'll be fine.
I'm sure there are games like that.
If I was 9 or whatever now, I reckon I would be exceedingly lucky if I was still playing Zelda. I think...
Well, you would have been through the cell-shaded weirdness and come out the other side with Skyward Sword, so I'd been disappointed.
No, we've already passed Wind Waker. I think that would have been a good one to start with if I was a kid. But if like the only one that's around now was a Skyward Sword, I reckon I would have missed those. I think they would have gone past me. They wouldn't have looked like a game that I wanted to get into massively. I mean, I'm okay now because I have this sort of self-indulgent nostalgia to go back and play games that were before my time that I missed. Like, let's not do this. But yeah, I can experience everything that I want to because I know that even though the games are dated now, I can still get something out of them. I mean, like you can play Street Fighter 2 now, and it's still an amazing game. It's a great experience there. But I still think I'd be really spoiled now. I think I'd be playing Halo, all the Halos, all the time, and probably everything made by Zynga, and that's about it.
Oh my God, this is probably true. All these Zynga games are probably what we would be. We would be Farmville players, and
yeah,
I was a Farmville player.
You're dead to me.
I was a Vampire Wars player.
So was I.
I was addicted to that shit, like in an unhealthy way, man. It was horrible.
I know, God.
In my gap between the second year flat and then when I moved in with George, there was a point where I didn't have internet for a couple of weeks. I used to go to the library to play Mafia Wars because I didn't want to miss out.
That's commitment. Well done.
But yeah, no. The other thing, like iPhone gaming, there are so many quote-unquote progressive game journalists that keep saying that it's a reputable medium and it's a way forward and it's going to be the big thing, but I don't know whether I'm a bit of a dinosaur, but fuck off.
No,
with your Angry Birds and cut the rope and stuff. Between
games like Zynga, games that Zynga makes, and iPhone game, because the iPhone is is a brilliant piece of kit. You can get things like Infinity Blade. I was amazed that they got that much sort of a game that requires that much processing power into a phone. I'm
not saying it shouldn't. I'm just saying I don't think it. I'm not happy with it. Basically, that's why I was saying I was.
I'm not saying it shouldn't, but it shouldn't. A few years ago, when we had the first camera phones came out, and everyone was like, "That's brilliant. That's 3 pixels. It's beautiful. I'm still going to keep hold of my digital camera." Nowadays, how many people do you know that have a digital camera? How many people prefer to take their photos on their phone?
I know.
It's amazing how far things have come. I don't see why games would be any different.
This is the point. This is what I was saying. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. I'm just saying I don't like it.
But why?
Because if I want to play a game, I want to play with a controller on a proper big screen with something that looks good. And the term casual gamer makes me sick.
But what about the Game Boy? I mean, you get sort of what I would class as hardcore games on handheld consoles.
The only reason why I ever owned a portable game console, like a Game Boy or a Game Boy Color, was for Pokemon. And if Pokemon was on any other format, I would have played it on the other format.
Yeah.
It's literally... mobile gaming, I don't really... It's not something that I personally, not as an industry, I can see it's got a big market. Toilet games has become a term, which is just foul, to be honest. But,
okay, well, the thing about... What I think about iPhone gaming and stuff like that is that it's not about the power, it's about the sort of social aspect of it. Like, there are games like, Mafia Wars or like your scores on Angry Birds. I mean, those are very, very basic sort of forms of it. I think it's got to grow before it gets more interesting. But because everything's connected to the internet and games can be games can consider everyone, that social aspect is going to be the main reason to play. And think about all the times in your childhood where you played a multiplayer game, and the game was made like a million times better because you were playing it with other people. I don't think iPhone games need or are going to have like any great degree of power. I think Infinity Blade is a rarity and will be a rarity.
I disagree with that. I think the market is going to start moving into the high end of mobile software. So the iPad, the iPhone, various other smart things like that are going to start trying to nestle their way in and push out things like the PS Vita and the 3DS. Maybe not for 5 or 6 years, but I think that may well be a trend that happens. And it's not, the whole smartphone becoming a box of wonders thing is great. I mean, I've got one myself because it does everything that I wanted it to do. It does everything I wanted 5 different things to do, and that's great. But I like to keep my gaming separate from everything like that. I have Angry Birds on my phone because it was free and I was bored, and I have a word search game on it because I can beat Charlotte at it. Literally the only reason why I've still got it. Sorry, love. Though, to be honest, it took me so long to try and beat her. I just really don't think that... I really don't enjoy the idea of... It just seems to be another one of these things that means you're going to spend most of your time staring at your phone when you're out and about. Like, if you want to go home, sit in front of your PC, that's right, PC gamers still exist. Or
who are we shouting at?
The industry in general, because
I don't think the industry listens to us.
The industry will listen, damn it. But if you want to, spend 2 or 3 hours playing Halo, honking like a dickbag online, or playing Call of Duty, having sex with your teammates' mothers, then that's fine. But I don't want those people and those attitudes on buses and public transport. And like in pubs and doctors' waiting surgeries, having somebody screaming, "Oh my God, noob nigger fags!" when I'm trying to wait for like a coffee in Starbucks, not what I want.
I think my Game Boy and I don't own a Game Boy anymore. The Game Boy and the Vita and the iPhone and the book that I chose specifically because it's big enough to fit in the inside coat pocket can all be interchangeable. Because they're things that you read like when you're on the bus, when you don't have anything else to do, or like when you're waiting outside someone's office or something, when you've got like several minutes where there's nothing for you to do.
What I'm saying is gaming shouldn't be mobile, because quality gaming should take more concentration and more effort and more enjoyment. You should be 100% focused on it. All right, okay then. Well, that'll be us for the end of the week then. That'll be the end of episode 4. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to find any more else of our work on the internet, you can follow us on Twitter at If It Moves. We have our own Facebook fan page for If It Moves Critique It Podcast. So give us a little search and find that. You can follow me personally on Twitter, Rossage99. Please make sure you subscribe to us via iTunes. And if you're looking for some more sort of light-hearted review / sort of slightly comedy work by myself, I have a blog which is linked on our website in the favourite links, which is the Lazy Empiricist blog. Alex, where can we find the rest of your work? Still doesn't exist?
It doesn't. I should probably apologise to the listeners for the first of many letdowns, because last episode I promised the .text version of the podcast would be up, and it isn't. I will flog this dead horse until something living comes out of it. It doesn't have to be another horse.
Cool. You're also on Twitter, not that you do anything.
No, I don't use Twitter. Contact me on Facebook instead.
Yeah, his name's Alex. We're not telling you his second name just in case you want to go and harvest his organs, because it's quite a possibility. Oh my God.
That is how you harvest organs. You just shout out the surname and a kidney flies at your face.
We discussed the same thing last episode as well.
What, the live organ harvest?
Yeah, that's it's kind of weird. Okay.
So gory and so horrible, just out of nowhere. It was really quite disgusting.
Sidebar, Alex, I've been watching Voyager since, like, forever. I've got, like, three episodes left of Voyager. The first bloody episode after the introduction, like, pilot episode, is when they meet the Vidians, and the Vidians start beaming people's organs out of their bodies.
Oh, yeah, the phage.
Yes.
God, horrible.
And Neelix has to have a pair of holographic lungs.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck you, Voyager. You're so batshit insane. Anyway, completely unrelated. So yeah, Charlotte, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
My new project, which is the Nick Cage project, wherein I watch all of Nicolas Cage's films and then relentlessly take the piss out of them until he starts some sort of legal action against me. And that's at cagebycage.wordpress.com. Should be a link to it down the side.
Oh yeah, it's in the favourite links, isn't it? Okay, well I think that'll be us then. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you'll come back for episode 5. Ta-ta for now.
Please do return. We need the attention.
So yes, goodbye. God fucking damn it, Alex.
What?
Every time.
What do you mean?
Every time I'm like, we're all going to say goodbye, you're just like, nope, just going to carry on in my own little world.